are back for another Parent Pivot podcast. We are already starting March already, sweetie. It's going by fast.
It's going by fast. And last week I was sick. Now you're sick again. So we just keep passing it back and forth.
Yeah. So I'm going to comment when it's important.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm going to sit and listen to you because this is actually a subject matter that came up just this past weekend.
Yeah. So we were at another conference. What do you call it?
New Canaan Society.
New Canaan Society.
Their annual retreat was in Orlando, Florida at the Omni Resort at Champions Gate.
Yes. So we were there and I was chatting with some of the wives. And one of the things that one of them brought up was how in-laws can be jealous of each other. So you may think, oh, my child just left the nest and is in college and this isn't going to apply to me. And in the immediate, it doesn't apply to you. It could apply to you in the sense of perhaps your parents went through this, and it could certainly apply to you in the future. So just something to be aware of. Oftentimes you see in-law parents feeling jealous of one another. So when I say in-law parents, I mean like my parents and his parents, and those parents are a little bit jealous of one another. This can start very early on,
right,
when people are dating and somebody gets more time than the other, somebody travels with one family. There can be so many different things.
Could be two socioeconomic classes that collide.
Right.
One has more money than the other one, so they can do more things.
Right. And it could be your child actually maybe enjoys really being with their in-laws, and that feels hurtful on some level. Then when the grandchildren come, you have even a bigger issue, because who's getting more time with the grandchildren? Who lives closer? Who has more money? Again, all of these things play into it, and it can feel yucky. It can feel...
True, and I could even imagine a scenario where even your own adult child is not seeing it from your side and is thinking you're blowing it out of proportion or things. So it might feel like I'm not being heard, seen, understood, and it just sucks.
Right. I do think in most of these instances, I think that these feelings go unsaid, which isn't a bad thing, because depending on how you say it, it could not go well actually for you. But let's say I really want to spend more time, say, with my grandchildren. It's up to me to make a phone call and to say, hey, would it be okay if I did this with the grandkids? Would it be okay if they came to my house and spent the night? Instead of just an underlying anger or jealousy that someone else is doing these things. It'd be easy to sit back and pout and be passive and even passive aggressive when you're feeling this way.
Woe is me, I'm the victim. I'm not loved.
Right. And I understand all of those things. I've said many times on this podcast, because we have 3 boys and 1 girl, I am very aware that when you have boys, oftentimes you lose those boys on some level, because girls have a tendency to want to be near their moms, particularly when they're having babies. And so it can really feel like you lose them.
We have that going on in our family.
I have 3. We definitely have that going on. Now, if I sat back and chose to be angry that the in-laws got to spend more time with my children or my grandchildren, it's not going to do anyone any good. It's certainly not going to be helpful to me.
It never goes well. It never goes well. It never goes well.
No.
And truly what I'm hearing is we're making it about ourselves and not about our adult kids and their families and the grandkids.
Right. And I'm not discounting the fact that it can be very painful, because I realize that it can be. But what I want to challenge in the thinking is our goal as parents and grandparents, our ultimate goal, hopefully, is to be leaving a legacy that, and we talked about this last week because we were coming off of the Legacy
Right,
Coalition
right,
weekend.
right. The
But
grandparenting summit.
yeah, but our goal is that hopefully we leave a legacy that carries on. Our legacy can't be, I'm feeling left out, I'm feeling jealous, I'm feeling sad,
I can't compete.
I can't compete. You may feel all of those things, and I will say this
Yeah.
again, find someone to talk to about
Yep.
those things, even if it's your spouse. Go ahead and get them out and tell your spouse, I don't need you to respond. I just need to throw up on you. I just need to get all these feelings out because they're bothering me and they're building up.
You do a lot of throwing up on me.
Yes, because I have a lot of feelings. But nevertheless, I want to encourage you to look at the 3,000-foot level view of what is the legacy I want to leave my children and grandchildren, and so on and so on and so on. And how can I best love my children and their children? How can I best love my in-law children? How can I even best love my in-law children's parents?
Yeah.
How can I do that? How can I love them well? One thing Steve and I talk about all the time, we really like our in-law children's parents.
Mhm.
We think they're all great.
I even thought after the fourth wedding that it's like, it'd be kind of fun to go on a cruise with all of them.
Yeah, and that would be fun. But one of the things that we do is, or that we have done, we won't hesitate, say a holiday's coming up and it's the in-laws time. If we want to say go to California to be with Wes and Chelsea, we go and we are with our kids around that. But there have been a couple of times that we've actually gone down and been with her family.
Right. We've been with our in-law families for the holidays.
Yeah.
We've been in San Diego for the holidays with
Yeah.
our oldest son's wife's family.
Yeah.
We've been in North Carolina with our daughter's husband's family.
Yeah.
And anywhere else?
And we've been in Reno.
Well, we were supposed to,
yeah.
although they got COVID. We were supposed to be with them, so we were going to be 3 for 4.
Yeah.
And things, but yeah, it's just kind of like, we're invited, and so we're going.
Yeah.
Best way for us to get to know them and to really just accept them and love them. I don't need to compete with them. I know who I am. I think a lot of it too has to be more internal. That if I'm feeling jealous or angry or feel competitive, then it's like, I need to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's something on the inside. I need to get over that.
Yeah.
Because that's going to come out in ways that's going to leak all over my relationships that I don't want to have happen.
Right.
And things. So it's called taking care of you. You can think of creative ways to spend time with the grandkids. Like, for example, our oldest son, Lila is 5, Jameson's 4, Ellis is
almost 1.
But he got email addresses for those kids.
Yeah.
Already.
And we haven't sent any emails.
But the idea behind that was, as they're having life moments and things like that, we could write a note saying, Lila, today we saw you on FaceTime and you were doing this and
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. And they're pretty good about doing FaceTime with us and keeping us involved in that. And our boys are having the kids out on the West Coast, and here we are in Georgia. Now we're on the other side of that with Jamie, Lynn, and Taylor. They live in our basement apartment.
Right. We
get to see Florence every day, every moment of the day. And Taylor's parents do not.
Right.
But we're always like going, hey, when they come to town, we're like, we're going, we're out of here. You guys have fun. You spend all the time with them. You take care of them. We're gone. They're yours, and we want them to know both sets of parents.
Yeah. And that actually, and for us, a couple Christmases ago, I think it was Christmas, I don't know, Eunice and Jerry, who are Chelsea's parents in San Diego, they had come up and they were taking care of the kids before we got there.
Right.
And they had stayed like a couple extra days, I think, because it was around Christmas.
Yeah.
And they stepped out and gave us the chance to be alone with the kids. Because typically what happens, you've got the grandparents that they're seeing all the time,
Right.
and that they're more attached to.
Right.
They know you,
There are
they're
more
attached
memories
to
there.
you.
Exactly.
And so when the other grandparents come,
The out of
you
town
can
ones.
be ignored.
Right.
Because
it's not comfortable. It's like we don't know what's going on.
yeah, and we're used to sharing things with this set of grandparents. So instead of feeling hurt, um, getting in there, doing the best you can, letting the kids be kids, because it's not their fault that they feel this way. It is what it is. But I really appreciated that Chelsea's parents,
They said, "Hey, we're
gonna go out for the afternoon because we
Yeah.
want to make sure you guys have time alone with the
Right,
kids." And
right.
I so appreciated that.
Yeah.
So these are like the little things. But if they hadn't done that and I wanted time alone with the kids, it would have been up to me to ask for that. Hey, now I wouldn't go to Eunice and Jerry to ask that probably. I would go to Wes and Chelsea maybe and say, hey, is there a time that we could have a couple hours with the kids, take them to the park or do something
Right.
that we're alone with them?
Right.
Because we really want to build those relationships, and we don't have the ability to be there every day to do it, unfortunately.
Now, as you're saying all that, there's also the flip side. So every time you look at a coin, you've got a quarter. It says tails on one side and heads on the other. Maybe you're listening to this podcast today, and you're the grandparents who are, I'll just say, in the driver's seat. And you live nearby, and you can spoil the grandkids. You get to see them all the time, and you can take them on trips, whether that's to Disney World. But I've also heard of grandparents that will take them at a certain age. We're going to Paris, or we're going anywhere in the world that you want to go, and they just have the affluence to do that. If you're sitting in that boat, and that's the kind of resources and way you're doing it, maybe you can think of creative ways to step back and allow the grandkids to get to know the other set of grandkids.
Grandparents.
Grandparents. Yeah, and things. So, because that's really, you're talking about building a great legacy for that. You want your grandkids to know all four of you.
Yes.
Because
things. Each of you has something to offer.
Yeah, and it's not a competition. It's not about somebody doing it better, someone they know me better, or just even the little things, whether it's nicknames or special things or whatever. Like we watch Florence and we watch her go, and right now I'm just sitting there going, "Gosh, I really wish I could spend time with Ellis, who's a few months behind her, but she's out in California." So I need to make the time, like we have FaceTime with her, and we're spending an extra amount of time trying to get her to smile at us, and things like that. So. Yeah. So if you're on that side of the fence, that side of the quarter, think about that. Think about how you can bless your in-law cohorts to have more grandparent time.
And if you don't, if you're not a grandparent and this is, not happening in your world yet, if you have children that are married or getting married, you're going to start hitting those things almost immediately when you're planning a wedding. Oftentimes the mother of the groom might feel a little left out because she's not really part of planning. They say the mother of the groom just, what is it? Show up, wear beige, and
some of this all starts. This all starts at the wedding.
Absolutely, and because you may have two mothers that really want their hand in the wedding. And so you have to be reminded the wedding is about the couple,
right,
and it's about their guests. Now you are a guest, but again, it's a lot of this just goes back to letting go, not having control. Everything that you've dreamed of may not be what your kids have dreamed of. And so all of these things are things that we have to learn to step back. We need to learn to listen and to hold
things loosely.
Hold them loosely.
Steward them. You're stewarding relationships.
Yeah.
You're not controlling them. You're stewarding them. That's why we say ask questions. Let your adult kids decide traditions, things like that, and whatever. You may not like it. It may rub you the wrong way. I'm sorry. I'm going to be blunt. Get over it. That's hard. I don't mean that in a mean way, but it's like, it's not about us. It's about them. Yeah. I know some things that have gone on, and I don't need to get specific about it, but boundaries that were set, and in-law parents didn't, they didn't voice any displeasure, but it was different than what they were used to. Mm-hmm. But they've come along and they've done well with it. And whatever you do, please stay off social media about this stuff. Don't be
Don't be airing dirty laundry.
If you're not
Yeah.
specific and you're throwing stuff out there, it's a way to be passive aggressive because everybody sees it, and all we're doing is destroying relationships.
Yeah.
Take it to the cross, take it to the feet of Jesus, and say, Father, take this away from me. I don't like who I am like this.
Yeah.
I want to love my adult kids well. I want to love my grandkids well. And what do I need to do? Maybe I need to talk to Steve and Julia, which this is a good place for me to throw this in there. We are offering some relationship coaching for you, and it could be about the subject. It could be about anything. In fact, you had that happen today with a podcast listener, and now here we are recording a podcast. So it's out there. Email us at parentpivotpodcast@gmail.com or instant message us on the social platforms of Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And our daughter will tell us about them because we're not on those. But anyway, we want to cut the rate in half of what you would normally pay. So we're offering relationship coaching at pretty much $100 per session.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it can cost you upwards of $175, $200 a session, and it can only be for a certain time, and then you come back later and things like that. But stuff like this, we want to talk it through, walk it through. We want to hear your heart. We want to understand the background, the dynamics, everything about that, and someone you can trust, someone that you listen to, hopefully every week. I don't know. We got some new podcast listening families. So if you all went to the summit out there, the Grandparenting Summit, and you just now started to listen to us, would you hit the subscribe button or hit a like button or send us a comment and let us know you're listening? It's kind of awesome that happened.
Yeah, that's fun.
What else?
So yeah, that's the thing that I just kind of wanted to talk about today is just that jealousy piece. And again, we talked about this last week. Self-awareness is key because you may not realize you're doing it. So you have to stop. You have to look at yourself. You have to ask yourself some tough questions. You're going to have to say, am I jealous of them? Why am I jealous of them? What can I do to bless those around me instead of making it about me and the way I'm feeling?
Yeah.
And I am not discounting your feelings because
no, not at all.
They're real. You can get hurt. You can feel alone, lonely, left out, all of those things.
Yeah, what we're saying is we want you to be heard and affirmed and valued and validated in those feelings. We're just asking you don't react out of those feelings.
Yeah.
Nothing good ever comes from reacting from negative feelings.
Yeah. And I would discourage you from going to your adult children and kind of having the woe is me.
Or trying to win them to your side and saying, hey, look at this. And don't you see the same thing? Yeah, that's not going to bode well.
Instead, go to them and say, hey, what's a good way that I can spend more time with the kids? I really would love to do that. And how can I make that happen? Let them come up with the ideas. They may be thrilled that you're saying that. They may say, you know what, we'd really like to go away for the weekend. Can you watch them for a weekend? Also be aware if you are a grandparent and your adult children are not allowing you to watch their kids, chances are there's a reason for that. They may have their own issues of just, I don't want anyone to watch my kids. I've met plenty of people like that. But also, if you are the type of grandparent who says, well, I've got them, I'm just going to do it my way. When they have asked you, right, please do this, please right, stick to this time, please stick to this food, whatever it is. If you choose to not follow their instructions when it comes to their children, they're not going to want you to watch the kids because you're going against them, yep, and they're not going to appreciate that.
Yep.
So, yeah. There are a lot of self-awareness issues that we cover over and over again, of looking at yourself, being aware of your feelings, being aware of what's going on inside of you, and then not reacting based on that, like you said.
Right. Awareness is one of my top values and who I am, and it's really helped out because I've stayed out of so much trouble. And you've stopped me from a lot of text messages. Don't send that text message. I'll type it all out. What are you doing? I read it to her. Don't send that. delete. So I'm pretty good at that. I've gotten to the point now where I don't even have to show you. I just go, you know what? I don't need to say that. I've been trained well and we've got great relationships with all of our kids. Now, I have to apologize if you're watching us on YouTube right now. I look like John Fetterman because I'm in my black sweatshirt. Love John Fetterman. I think it's great. I'm this way because I've been running ragged today, and I'm getting on a plane early in the morning to go see a grandchild that I haven't met yet.
Yes.
So Zion, I'm coming for you, buddy.
Zion is 4 months old, and Steve hasn't gotten to.
I have not gotten to see him. So tomorrow, as you guys are listening to this podcast, Pop will be meeting Zion for the first time, face to face, and you can celebrate with me on that.
Yeah. So Pop's not feeling well.
Pop's not feeling well.
He has to get up at the crack of dawn to get on it.
Whenever you're flying from the East Coast to the West Coast, the first flight out is the cheapest. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Just I have to get up at 4:15 in the morning.
Yeah. Ugh. I'm glad I'm not going.
Anyway, you have anything else to add?
No, I think that was it.
Okay. Well, thank you for always listening faithfully to the Parent Pivot podcast. If you know someone who would benefit from this, and we're in our third year of putting out content, and we've got a number of guests lined up. I think what I'll do on the airplane tomorrow is start contacting these guests, because when we were at the summit, we found a bunch of different authors and things, and they all said, "Hey, we'd love to be on the podcast." So I need to make contact and get those scheduled. So continue listening as we get into April, May, and June, and before we take a summer break, we'll hopefully get those all lined up. We do have someone we're interviewing next Monday.
Oh.
Yeah. So that means next week you guys will have an interview that you're really going to enjoy. And I wish I remembered their names and had their book right here, but I'm flying by the seat of my pants today, and I'm just grateful that we recorded something and you're listening to it today on Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for listening to the Parent Pivot podcast.
Thank you for listening, and please share with your friends.
We'll be back next week. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.